Well, the time has finally come. It's football season, baby. I mean, the weather is starting to get cold, but that only means week 1 kickoff is coming right up. The fantasy teams have been drafted. Your future bets have starting to been placed. The Thursday night football matchup is just hours away. Sit down, stay a while, as we've got one hell of a show for you here at our debut Odds On NFL edition. I'll be lying if I told you I didn't feel damn good sitting in this seat right now alongside two of the best there is in the betting industry. Of course, I'm your host, Dustin Saracini. I was here for March Madness, the NBA playoffs, and I ran it back with the gang. I'm sitting here with Alpha Dog Bets, who constantly delivers winners on Twitter, and of course, Matt Jacob, who goes above and beyond to deliver top-tier analysis for you every single day. Alpha, Matt, how are we feeling heading into week 1? I don't know about you, but I'm feeling warm and cozy right now.
207 days. That's how long since we've had an NFL game of meaningful consequence to wager on. So it's been a long time, and I know a lot of people, not just on this screen right now, but out there watching, are just itching to go.
How about you, Alpha?
I'm doing great, guys. It feels like Christmas morning. There is nothing better than when football season returns. We had a taste of it with college football for week 0 and week 1, but we are diving in to the meat and potatoes of the real NFL. I'm stoked to be with the boys and give out some winners this season.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For the first time ever, too, at Oddspedia, we'll be here with you every single week, same time, same place, discussing our weekly best bets, futures, fantasies, answering any of your questions. We'll be dropping info on Oddspedia's capper contest throughout our shows this year as well, where you can compete against your friends or people from all over the country to show you've got what it takes to be the best capper on our platform. Best of all, man, we're going to win some money together. You can find the live show right here on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And if you miss it, head on over to our YouTube, where you can see our beautiful faces for the entirety of the 2024-25 season. Hi, YouTube. It's finally nice to be here. All right, that's my spiel. Let's get into what you came here for. Before we get into Thursday night football picks, I want to hear from the experts, man. Let's talk futures. We've got a few to run through, but let's start with Offensive Player of the Year. Alpha, who do you love, man?
So, as you know, I have done an article previously on Oddspedia that breaks down fully my thoughts on the OPOY this year. Everybody knows this is a non-quarterback award. The MVP award is the quarterback award, and for the best offensive player who's not a quarterback, this is the award that they are trying to go for. For me, as you know, I am looking at a long shot here and is a new addition to a team that is playing tonight, and that's Derrick Henry for the Baltimore Ravens. To me, Derrick Henry's odds should not be at a plus 4,000. It should be closer to maybe a plus 2,000. They have a ton of players with better odds than Derrick Henry. And to me, with that Ravens offense, he is going to be fantastic. When you take a look at this Ravens team, when they're in the red zone, how are you going to stop them? If you stack the box, Lamar's going to bounce it to the outside, maybe quick passes, a quick run to the outside, and get in the end zone. If you don't do that and you play the flat, they're going to run it up the middle, and Derrick Henry's going to have an absolutely massive year doing that. I think that's what defenses will choose. They will make Derrick Henry beat them, and I think he's going to have a lot more touchdowns than people are thinking. So for me, the plus 4,000 on Derrick Henry has too much value for us to not take.
Yeah, that's a great pick. And like he said, man, if you haven't already read it, head on over to Alpha's Offensive Player of the Year future article, because he broke down damn near every player on the odds board, from favorites to sleepers. Matt, I'll turn it over to you, buddy. Who are you looking at to win the award this year?
Yeah, I'm not going as far out as Alpha in terms of the value. I don't think that's a good value play. You just got to pray that Lamar Jackson doesn't do what he does to all of his running backs, and that's take all the limelight from him by running the football. But I think it's smart value play because Derrick Henry, I think, still has some juice in the tank. My sort of, I call it mid-range shot, let's call it, is Amon-Ra St. Brown at plus 1,600. He's come on, he's gotten better each of his first 3 seasons, outperformed his draft position. He's playing with a quarterback who is unbelievable in dome games, and I believe it's 13 dome games that the Lions have this season. We'll go a little bit more into that when we talk about MVP. I kind of think, it sounds plus 950 is not great value per se, but as long as Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, I don't see any way he's not in the conversation here. The only concern with Christian McCaffrey, guys, and everyone out there watching, before you go bet Christian McCaffrey, if you believe in long trends, there has not been a repeat Offensive Player of the Year winner since my man from San Diego State, Marshall Faulk, three-peated from 1999 to 2001. So generally, obviously, we're talking over 20 years, 25 years. It doesn't happen, but McCaffrey's got the goods because of who he is and the team he's on. So I don't think plus 950 is a terrible price. But I think plus 1,600 on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he's got to be on a lot of good receivers to get this award, but I do think he's got some value there.
Quickly,
Go ahead.
I do have to say, somebody on the panel right now did have Christian McCaffrey as their future for last season. Not going to say which person, but you can probably figure out who it was. So I definitely enjoyed that CMC last year. But I agree with you, Matt. It's so hard to win back-to-back offensive players of the year. That's the main reason I stayed off him as well.
What was he going into last year, Alpha?
Plus 1,350 is what we had when we gave out the article.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah,
good return.
I was just gonna say, Alpha's been here for over a year right now. Last year he went CMC. If you're following Oddspedia, I know we're a young and upcoming blog over here, but hey, you would have cashed that. Matt, I'm actually with you with the Amon-Ra St. Brown, man. He's actually the highest ticket percentage at 10%. The highest handle is actually Breece Hall at 12.6%. He's the biggest liability for the sports books right now. But yeah, I love me some Amon-Ra St. Brown for this pick, just as much as I loved watching him on a receiver. The Netflix show, if you haven't seen it, started tonight after Thursday Night Football. But yeah, plus 1,600. This elite wideout's got the perfect scenario to take home this award. This is a guy who had 9 weeks of double-digit targets a year ago, punctuated by a 19-target outing in Week 7 against the Ravens. Broke into the NFL in 2022, 2023 at 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, to win this award, he's obviously going to need to get those touchdown numbers up a bit. Remember, this team's scoring close to 30 points a game last year. He might need to get closer to 2,000 receiving yards to take it home. But yeah, this team will be scoring in bunches again. And with Gibbs, Monty healthy in the backfield, you better believe St. Brown will be eating through the air. Like Matt was talking about. I mean, we could easily pick a CMC or a Tyreek Hill at shorter odds, but if you're looking for someone with closer to 2,000 odds and more bang for your buck, I'm banking on St. Brown. With another year under Dan Campbell to elevate his game for a third season, give me Amon-Ra. Love the odds, love the money. Let's get to it. And fellas, from offensive to defensive, if you are following Oddspedia, Alpha's got this covered as well. Alpha, I'll spin it over to you, buddy. Who do you have on for Defensive Player of the Year?
So for this one, I do anticipate we see a guy who I thought was deserving last year, and that's going to be TJ Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do anticipate the Steelers to have a massive year defensively, and I do think this team is going to be quite good. We see this team every single year go 500 or better. That has not changed in, I believe, 20 seasons, which is absolutely incredible. And this defense is poised to have another big year, like I said. To me, this is a sacks award. It really is. And I do think TJ Watt has a chance to lead the league in sacks. If he is able to lead the league in sacks, I think it's going to be a no-brainer. And I do think he will be able to take home the award. Getting that at plus 850 right now as well. So that's by far my favorite pick. And then my second favorite pick is actually going to be Aiden Hutchinson. I do have a ticket on both players. I do want to take a long shot here as well. And Aiden Hutchinson at plus 1,400 has a ton of value if you're a Lions believer. For this Lions team to be successful, they will need to have a good defensive line, and I do think Aiden Hutchinson will take that next step this year. He had 11.5 sacks last year, which is great. He had a good number, and I do think he'll take another jump this year. If he can finish top 3 in sacks and this Lions team wins the division like I think they can, he may win the award as well. So the two picks I am definitely all over are going to be Aiden Hutchinson and TJ Watt. If either win, we are guaranteed a profit by the odds we have taken.
I love it. And shout out Armin. I appreciate you viewing us from our great YouTube channel. He's going with the Bengals, Dolphins, and Bears this weekend. We're going to get to our weekend picks shortly. Matt, who are you liking for Defensive Player of the Year, bud?
Yeah, again, I mentioned in the last discussion that we'll get to some other Lions stuff. So I considered Aiden Hutchinson as I think it's a good bet, but I'm getting a little Lions heavy here, and I'm not a guy who thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl. So maybe I'm going to back off on him. And I went with, another Niner, as much as I hate the 49ers, and nobody hates the 49ers. Trust me, nobody listening, nobody on the planet hates them more than I do. I won't get into why. Let's just say I was a Rams fan in the 80s. But Nick Bosa, obviously at plus 100, 10 to 1, plus 1,000. Good price at FanDuel. And with him and his brother, it always comes down to health. Will they stay on the field? Bosa had a down year last year, played every game, but he had a big year the previous year. And as Alpha mentioned, it's a sack award. I mean, since 2011, 80 of the awards have gone to defensive lineman or defensive end, 3 to outside linebackers. And the only exceptions were Luke Kuechly won as an inside linebacker in 2013, and Stephon Gilmore won it for the Pats in 2019. So this generally is going to go that direction. If you like a long shot, my long shot at 35-1 is Chris Jones. The heart and soul of the Chiefs defense that was vastly improved last year. Nobody saw that coming, and we all kept waiting for it to stop, and it just didn't stop. I mean, they were a top 2 defense. In fact, right here tonight, you're looking at the 2 teams who gave up the fewest points in the NFL last year. As insane as that is, the Chiefs gave up the second fewest points in the NFL. So Chris Jones is the heart and soul of that defense. He's a beast to block. Playing inside, it's harder, obviously, to win this award, to get those sacks. But at 35-1, playing for the 2-time defending Super Bowl champs, not a bad price.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, none of us have really covered this guy. The highest ticket percentage, Max Crosby. The people are loving Max Crosby at 17.8%. He's got the highest handle as well. Of course, he's the biggest liability. But for me, I'm going Myles Garrett. The people absolutely love Max Crosby, but I just don't think he'll have anything to play for down the stretch. Once again, as Minshew Mania is quarterbacking that team, I mean, I'm sorry, Raiders, they just don't do it for me again. Instead, I'm going with Mr. Reliable to repeat Myles Garrett. He snagged this award away from Parsons a year ago. He's just got that Hall of Fame mentality that nobody else really possesses. And when all is said and done, he's going to be sitting top 3 to win this award. I don't think you're going to see these long odds for Myles Garrett very long. So I'm going to go for Myles Garrett, and you should cash that and place that before week 2 or week 3 when he's the sacks leader.
And real quick, Dustin, on that too, I mentioned how we haven't seen a repeat offensive player of the year winner since Falcon in late 90s, early 2000s. There's been 2 repeat defensive player of the year winners just in the last decade, and that's J.J. Watt and Aaron Donald. Each won it back-to-back years within the last decade. So, Garrett's a good call there in terms of history.
Yeah, exactly. I think Alpha covered that over at Oddspedia as well, guys. And it's also hard to repeat the NFL MVP. I've got a pretty good pick for this one. I know Alpha's going to get down my throat about it because I'm a Fins fan, but I'll leave that for a little bit. Matt, let's go back to you, buddy. Who do you have getting the NFL MVP, or earning the NFL MVP rather?
So if the Chiefs don't come out of the AFC, all right, I know the AFC is a juggernaut conference. It's you could probably throw 5 teams in there, but I personally think that the Bengals would be the team. The Bengals have shown they can beat the Chiefs. They can compete with the Chiefs regular season, postseason. Of course, it comes down to Mr. Burrow and his health. If he plays, they're going to have a shot. So 10-1 right now, not tremendous odds at FanDuel, but not bad for a quarterback who is, he's in the top tier. He's in that top. There's Mahomes, and then there's the tier below it, and he's in that tier right below it. So I think he's a good price. But this brings you back to the Lions thing, brings you back to the 13 dome games in 17 games. It's Jared Goff at 25-1 at FanDuel. I mean, we think it's crazy. Jared Goff can win the MVP. If he puts up the numbers that he's very capable of putting up in that offense against the teams that they're playing, and the Lions win their division as expected, and if they can win it handily, 25-1. I mean, you're not going to see that price hang around very long. So I think that's a decent roll of the dice per se, and I don't even think it's that much of a roll of the dice just because of who's around him, where he's playing his games, what his history shows. And the fact that the Lions are going to probably win at least 11 games. So he's going to be in that hunt. And probably no one's going to bring up Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to be in the conversation. It's hard to outperform Patrick Mahomes. And I've already mentioned 2 quarterbacks, so we'll see. But I will say that it's quarterback or nothing, guys. 15 of the last 16 years, including 11 in a row. Adrian Peterson in 2012, the only guy who's busted that up.
It's a quarterback award. No, we can't. You can't sit here and put your hard-earned money down on a wideout as much as you want to, or as much as the long odds entices you to do. Alpha, who are you liking for MVP, buddy?
Well, right after Matt said, I don't think anyone's going to take Patrick Mahomes, I'm coming to tell you that, unfortunately, I am the square who is taking Patrick Mahomes. When you take a look at the most recent winners, we all know Lamar Jackson won it in 23, and he's won the award 2 times. Before that was Mahomes. That was his second time. Before that was Rodgers, back-to-back, who's now won 4 of them. But I do think that Patrick Mahomes is going to get his 3rd MVP this year. I'm very high on the Chiefs this season as well. I do think they are a threat to three-peat, and I'm playing that in a certain different ways. And one way I am playing that is with taking Mahomes to win the MVP. He didn't win it last year. He's tied with Lamar Jackson for the same amount of MVPs in their career. And I really do think they will give him the third. He's a much better player than Lamar, in my opinion, probably most people's opinions as well. And the fact they're both sitting on 2, if they both have really strong years and they're both sitting around the same, let's say the Chiefs finish the first seed in the AFC, how do you not give it to Patrick Mahomes? I just don't see how you don't give it to him. This is the first one I am taking that's a little square, but I really do believe this is the year that he can get his third. And at the price of plus 450, it's not too short for me to play. I like those odds, and I am all over it.
I don't think you can ever go wrong with Patrick Mahomes. And we've got a sharp pick from Matt. We've got a square pick from Alpha.
Yes,
Let's just get an idiotic pick from me, guys. I mean, we've got the highest ticket percentage, CJ Stroud at 11% before I get into my pick. Highest handle, Patrick Mahomes, 13%. Biggest liability is actually Jared Goff. You already know Matt Mahomes is the odds leader for the NFL MVP. But for me, I'm going down to Miami and 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏. I mean, why not us? Tua's coming off his first fully healthy season, threw for an NFL-leading 4,624 yards a year ago with elite efficiency, completing a career-high 69.3% of his passes. He's running it back with the same weapons from last year, except with the addition of better playmaking tight end Jonnu Smith. He's got Tyreek. He's got Waddle. He's got double-headed monster in the backfield in Mostert and A-Chain. He just got paid. He had the Flores situation pop up this offseason, which I believe, helped trigger his odds to fly from plus 3,300 to 2,000 once people learn just how much of a better atmosphere he's in. And he has another year under his belt with the offensive-minded mastermind, Mike McDaniel. He's a true dark horse candidate, don't get me wrong. But give me Tua to take home the NFL MVP. If his O-line holds up, why can't Fins fans have nice things too, right? I mean, we don't get playoff wins, but why can't we have an NFL MVP on our team?
You do realize that Dan Marino's not going out there dressed in the Tua jersey, right? You aware of this?
I've got Dan Marino's jersey behind me. I mean, that's wishful thinking. That is wishful thinking.
Hey, man, I have A-Chain on my fantasy team. So, if maybe Tua doesn't win it, maybe we can get A-Chain for OPOY. You never know. So I'm rooting for your Fins this year.
I'm telling you, man, that the double-headed monster at running back is going to be huge for Tua. I mean, he had it last year, but, A-Chain obviously was injured for a ton of the time. Mostert, 21 touchdowns to his name last year. He's going to be able to, open up the field, especially the middle of the field for that passing game. Why not us? I just keep pounding my hand on the table, man. Why not us? All right. From a great pick in Tua for NFL MVP to the Super Bowl, guys. Super Bowl. Who do we have this year? Alpha, we'll start with you, buddy.
This one's painful. This one's a little painful for me because most people know this who follow. I am from New York. I am a New York Giants football fan. Unfortunately, I do think there's a ton of value on the New York football Jets to win the Super Bowl this year at plus 2,000. Matt, I know you disagree, and there'll be more to come on that. But to me, Aaron Rodgers is back. This offense is fully dialed in, and they do have a legitimate defense as well. They also play in, no offense, Dustin, I think a division that they will win. I do think they'll get first there. We all think the Bills are probably going to regress. I don't think I'm alone in that with how many players they've lost on defense. I don't think the Dolphins have the defense to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I do apologize to you. And I do think this Jets team is very strong. The one thing I have as a concern for the Jets is that defensive line. Haason Reddick still is not in contact with the team as the game is 3 or 4 days away. They can't even get him on the phone. That's a huge issue to me because they are going to need to get pressure on the quarterback. But I do think that does get resolved sooner rather than later. If Haason Reddick doesn't play this season, he's still stuck on the Jets next year. It's not like this year of his contract goes away. He needs to uphold the last year of his deal with the Jets. So I do think they will get this done at some point. And when they get him back in there, this defense is legit. Give me the Jets. Plus 2,000 to me is just too big of the odds. There are not 12 to 13 teams better than the Jets, in my opinion, and there are 12 to 13 teams with better odds or worse odds to win than the Jets. So I'm all over the Jets at the plus 2,000.
You're betting on 55-year-old Aaron Rodgers to stay healthy.
Unfortunately, they do have a good line too. They have retooled their offensive line. They did get a couple new pieces. I am very high on this Jets team.
Matt, over to you, bud. What do you think?
I think that what you're seeing there from Alpha might be a little bit of a reverse jinx, maybe. I've got a few things here, guys. I'll try to be swift with this, but obviously I've been covering the Super Bowl odds for Oddspedia since the beginning of last year. I've done several articles already, kind of heading into this year. So I've been kind of dialed into some things here. One of the things I've been steady with in these updates I've been doing in the off season, and this is 𝐻𝐴 gets is the Chiefs. Okay, no team's ever won 3 straight Super Bowls. I get it. No team's ever had Patrick Mahomes. I don't care about Brady. You know, he only had 1 shot, by the way, to three-peat because the Patriots only won back-to-back once. The Chiefs very easily could have done this already, win the 3 in a row. But the point is about the odds. Okay, plus 550 is the best number I saw at FanDuel right now. They were 600 a little while ago. They were 650 before that. So it's coming down. What if the Chiefs, as everyone expects, playing in a crappy division, if they're anywhere near 11, their 11.5 win total, you know, in early December, you think you're going to see 550? You're not going to see 550, not even close. So this is a bet on the Chiefs now that you don't want to make really anytime after the first month, probably, unless Mahomes gets hurt and then the whole thing blows up anyway. I just think this is a play that if the Chiefs get to the AFC Championship game, you're sitting pretty at plus 550. And if you want to hedge a little bit, you hedge a little bit. Two quick teams in the middle I like are the Eagles at plus 1,400. Again, pure value. The Eagles were in great shape last year. They had a slump. Every NFL team has a slump. Theirs came at the wrong time. The Chiefs had a slump. They went like 3-4 during the stretch, including a home loss to the Raiders. The Eagles happened at a bad time. Okay, if they can bounce back from that, this is a team this third choice behind the Chiefs and Niners going into last year, and now they're getting 14-1 coming into the season. I just think that's value. The Bengals are my other one. I've been touting a lot. If not the Chiefs, the Bengals. That just goes to that theory, right? And at 15-1, good price at Burrow. And then here's a long shot, and let me explain why. I mean a long shot. It's actually come down. It was 60-1. Now it's 50-1. So maybe somebody read my article and got excited. The Steelers. Now, do I think the Steelers are a Super Bowl contender? I do not. Do I think that either one of their quarterbacks are worth a darn? I do not. But as Alpha mentioned earlier, this team, for whatever reason, wins games they're not supposed to win at the end of the year. They're at 500 or above 500. How did that team go 10-7 last year? Their quarterbacks, look at their quarterbacks. They ended with Mason Rudolph. You know, they started with Kenny Pickett, and they had who was in the middle? Trubisky. So those were the 3 quarterbacks last year. They win 10 games, okay? So in the whole winning season thing, can't explain it. But Tomlin's been in the playoffs 11 of 19 seasons that he's been there. So more often than not. So I don't know how the Steelers are going to get in the playoffs this year, but if they get there, then guess what? If they can pull off one upset, you're at 50, then you can hedge off that bet. I'm not saying bet any more than $100 on this, or really any more than $15 on something like this. I just think it's a good value play in terms of what you can do later on. If you just assume the Steelers are going to be the Steelers and somehow be in position to make the playoffs late in the season, you're in position to make some money back off your small investment. That's my theory. I do not think the Steelers are winning the Super Bowl. Let's be clear on that.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, as always, guys, you'll find analysis. You'll find Matt's analysis. You'll find Alpha's analysis over at Oddspedia. Matt's been covering the Super Bowl. I think this is his second year going in. He's got some pretty good takes. If you can't find, a favorite that you like, take a look at his long shots. More often than not, I was going to say they hit, but those are long odds. I love the Steelers. Let's see what happens. It's week 1, a land full of opportunity. Now, for me personally, I'm going to go the Eagles, man. It's their time to get over that hump. After getting absolutely embarrassed by Baker Mayfield and the Bucs in the wild card last year, I think it was 32-9. A year after losing the Super Bowl to the Chiefs, the Eagles weren't going to mess around this offseason. Now, of course, they bring back a true number 1 running back in Saquon Barkley, who gives them pretty much an embarrassment of riches alongside A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. You can even throw Dotson in there as well. They cleaned house. They brought in Vic Fangio on the defensive side, Kellen Mond as the offensive coordinator. They brought in 9 new coaches this offseason. That's just incredible turnover. They basically said this isn't going to happen again. Prior to the Eagles going ice cold last year, I mean, they won 25 of 27 games with Jalen Hurts starting. I think they get back to their winning ways. They take down the Chiefs in the Super Bowl to deny the three-peat. And at plus 1,300, I mean, I don't think you'll find a more lucrative future for yourself. I think you have to go Eagles. I don't see like your hard-earned money ever going down the ship with the Eagles.
I'll tell you one thing. I pray that you're wrong. As a Giants fan, if Saquon Barkley gets a ring in Philadelphia, I don't know what I'll do with myself. I will be devastated. Devastated.
That's going to happen.
I do. Unfortunately,
they're pretty down on themselves right now. I mean, they got the Jets, the Giants. I don't know what you guys are going to do, but that's a story for another day. We might be able to talk about that for an hour.
5 hours if you need me to.
Fellas, this isn't a week one show. First of all, and shout out to the close to 500 viewers we got so far. We're going to get into our Thursday night football picks, but before we do, let's head on over to our bold prediction segment. All right, this isn't really a week one NFL show without some bold predictions. And I've got one in the plus 3,000 range that I absolutely love, and that's Drake London to lead the NFL in receiving. I'll be saying you like that from Kirk Cousins all season long. It's the Kirk Cousins. It's the Drake London connection. I bought myself some London stock in fantasy this season, but I think he's on the verge of a massive breakout year, and I can see him, yes, leading the NFL in receiving yards. Right now, you can get him in the range of plus 2,800 to 3,000, which is pretty long odds for a player in yet another great situation. He's got Cousins, which might be just a small upgrade over, who did he have last year? Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke. But he also has a new OC in Zach Robinson, who comes from a pass-heavy system in LA. Now, this is a guy who almost broke 1,000 yards in a run-first offense with Desmond Ridder throwing him the ball. He's catching balls from two quarterbacks who aren't even on the team anymore. I personally love this prediction. I love me some London this year. What about you guys? You guys have this bold prediction. Let's hear it. Alpha, we'll start with you, bud.
I have one, and it's actually kind of based off what we were talking about earlier. And I love Jared Goff to lead the league in passing yards this year. I'm all over the Amon-Ra St. Brown train. And as Matt said it perfectly earlier, they have 13 of their 17 games indoors this year. So they should have a lot of good matchups for Goff. He should be slinging it all over the field. And you currently can get that at plus 1,000. He's tied for, I believe, the 4th or 5th best odds to lead the league in passing yards. And I really do see them being able to do that. We saw a ton of Lions games last year with a crazy high total. I think we'll see that again. Their defense needs to step up. And if they don't step up to that next level, they're going to rely on Jared Goff bringing them back in games, slinging it down the field, and picking up big yardage plays. I'm all over Jared Goff to lead the season passing at plus 1,000.
I love that pick. How about you, Matt?
I'm going to give you three quick ones.
We love that.
One's not too bold in terms of the price, but it's bold in terms of the team and what Alpha was just talking about with his Super Bowl favorite, and that's the Jets under 7.5 wins. It's plus 360 at DraftKings. Again, this is just the Jets' history. I'm sorry,
you can't win the Super Bowl under 7.5 wins.
Right. I don't think so anyway. The NFL might add 3 more teams to the playoffs. Who the hell knows?
That's true.
So yeah, plus 360 at DraftKings. Look, 8 straight seasons with 7 wins or less. 1 winning record since 2011. That was 10-6 in 2015. Now, of course, this could be blown out of the water if they upset San Francisco on Sunday night, on Monday night, because look, okay, it's an easy schedule allegedly. At Titans, Patriots, Broncos, at Vikings, Bills, at Steelers, at Patriots. That's what follows the 49ers. And they got later games against Cardinals, Colts, and Texans. So this bet should not win. But it's the Jets, and something always happens to the Jets, and people who believe in the Jets always get sand kicked in their face. We saw it last year when Aaron Rodgers played all of 4 plays before blowing out his calf muscle. And Dustin made a joke about 55, but he's past 40 now. I just don't trust the Jets. I don't trust Robert Saleh. I just don't trust him as a head coach. So that's one play. Real quick here, plus 2,200, Xavier Worthy to be offensive rookie of the year. He's quarterback. Who's his quarterback again? I can't remember.
That Mahomes guy, I think.
I think it's Mahomes. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, he's basically got basically his new Tyreek Hill without the experience and whatnot. But if this guy gets loose and gets on the field, I know he's basically a wide receiver 3 right now. He's got a shot to put up some big numbers. And then lastly, guys, this is kind of I would call my boldest prediction, plus 950. The Titans to win the AFC South. Okay, they were 6-11 last year. Well, guess what? The Texans were 3-13 the year before that and went 10-7 and won the division. And the year before that, Jacksonville was 3-14 and went 9-8 and won the division. This is easily the weakest division in the NFL, I think. It's also a division where we see teams go last, but the NFL always has someone that goes worst to first, and it's happened in the AFC South recently. And the Titans had 2 down seasons, right? 6-11 last year, 7-10 the year before. But they had 6 straight winning seasons prior to that, 9+ wins every year. It's an uphill battle because I don't necessarily believe in Will Levis, but I just think this division is winnable. And I just count me among somebody. I'll probably eat my words for this. As much as I like C.J. Stroud, I thought he'd finally break the Ohio State jinx, and he did. I don't get the Texans. How are the Texans 15-1 to win the Super Bowl? Texans.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't understand it. So I think that, you know, and I don't believe in the Colts. And the Jaguars can just Jaguars all over themselves in the second half. Like they always do. Yeah. So the Titans, I mean, like the Bucs last year, 9 wins could win this division, and you know the Titans could get there.
I like that too.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, so hey, we've got the futures covered. We've got bold predictions for the year. Guess what's coming up next? You know, let's start breaking down some games, man. Let's start breaking down some games, and let's start with tonight. Of course, we got Thursday Night Football. We got Ravens, Chiefs. What an absolute game this is going to be. NFL Week 1. 70% of the bets are on the Ravens at +3. 83% of the bets are on the over at 46. Matt, I know you just talked a lot. I'll give you a breather. Alpha, where are you going tonight?
Guys, I did go back and forth on this for a while, but I am taking the Ravens on the points, the +3. To me, I think this game ends either direction by a field goal. If the Chiefs win, I do think it'll be by 3 or less. If the Ravens win, I also think it'll be by 3 or less. This way, we at least have some security for the push. My favorite play on this game is actually Derrick Henry to score a touchdown. We went over earlier. He's my OPOY. There's a lot I love about Henry this year in this offense. I went over how deadly I think this Ravens red zone team will be, and I think we will see him get into the end zone once, if not twice tonight. I do think we will see points as well, but my official pick on the side is going to be the Ravens +3. And I know you said the public betting percentage. We're seeing 75% of tickets on the Chiefs right now, but we're seeing almost 80% of the money on the Ravens. That means the smaller bettors, a lot of guys who are placing $5 to $10 tickets are on the Chiefs, and we're seeing some of the bigger bettors, some of the sharp money come in on the Ravens. I do think the Ravens are the appropriate side to play in this game.
Matt, how about you, bud?
Yeah, I'm with you, Alpha. It's the revenge thing from what happened in the championship game last year. It's a statement to prove the catching the Chiefs. You know, obviously they're at home, but still the Super Bowl kind of little hangover thing, the ceremony, and also just the fact that, I mean, Lamar Jackson's an underdog. We've seen it all week, all over Twitter. I believe it's 12-0-1. Is that what it is? Or 12-1 against the spread as an underdog? And I know he's only getting 3 points, which is why I also think that if you're taking the Ravens, you know, have your bet on the Ravens, put the other half on the money line. I think that, you know, look, the Lions went last year to Kansas City and beat Kansas City. I know the Chiefs did not have Travis Kelce. They did not have Chris Jones. But the Lions were playing outdoors, and it's not usually something they do well. Granted, the weather was nice. So I just think that the Ravens, I'm not sure I believe in the Ravens throughout the whole season, but I think they got something to prove tonight. And I think that they can beat the Chiefs. I kind of think it'll be a little bit of a lower scoring game under the total, but just a slight lean there. But I like the Ravens +3 and then a little bit on the money.
Yeah, Matt, I'm with you with the under. I'll get into that in a bit. But if you guys are both going Ravens, you know, I have to go with Patty Mahomes. I mean, both of these teams were against the spread darlings last year. The Ravens covered 12 games a season ago, while the Chiefs covered 13 times. It's worth noting the historical trends are on Kansas City's side. If that's something that floats your boat, they own a 7-4 ATS record in Week 1 since Andy Reid came aboard. While I do believe it could be a low-scoring affair, I think Mahomes gets the best of the new and young defensive coordinator Zach Orr tonight. He's 32 years old, and he's about to walk into Arrowhead against Mahomes on a night where they unveil the Super Bowl banner. You know, I'm going to fade both of you, I guess, unfortunately. I'll fade the public on the total. I'll fade them on the spread. Give me Kansas City -3. And if we're talking totals, guys, let's for a second not forget that these were two under darlings as well last year. The Ravens were 10-8 to the under in 2023. The Chiefs were 14-7 to the under. KC owned one of the best passing defenses in the NFL. They allowed just 185 yards per game through the air. The Ravens allowed 193, good for 6th in the NFL. You know, for all the talk about these offenses, these were two of the top 5 defenses in the league when it came to total defense last year. And not much has changed. I mean, Patrick Queen did leave for Pittsburgh from Baltimore. But I still believe these are two top 5 defenses this year. Remember that Hollywood Brown is out here as well, so he won't be blowing the top off the Ravens defense, although, you know, that Xavier Worthy kid might just do that. And I don't think that Henry will be enough to move the needle to push this one over. However, you know, another thing that's good for the under, his volume may chew up the clock, especially if the weather's looking like rain. I think it's a nice recipe for the under. Have you guys locked in any total plays? I've locked in the under 46.5 at Oddspedia and a number of books. How about you guys? Alpha, what about you? Have you locked in a total play yet?
I have not. The only thing I've locked in is the spread so far. I'm still torn on that total. I have been going back and forth.
Yeah.
I probably will have an official play as we get closer to kickoff. So make sure you guys stay tuned into Oddspedia to get all the best plays. But right now, only staying with the side and the props.
Yeah, just a slight lean to the under for me. And if you want a total play, I'll give you a prop, and it's just straight up off the top, and that's Lamar Jackson just always seems to run for 40 yards.
Yeah,
I would. It's a chalky play, but I think that he'll break free for a couple of runs because he might have to, and so that would be a total play, so to speak, would be over Lamar Jackson's rushing yards.
Right. And hey, if you're looking for player props, guys, of course, Alpha's got it covered over at Oddspedia. We just dropped a line, actually. More people have bet on anytime touchdowns than the total on this game tonight. So player props are just flying off the shelves. Everyone loves their anytime touchdown props. It's crazy. But yeah, guys,
100%. People love those parlays too. It's about to be parlay season. You go on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call that right now, whatever they changed the name of the app to. You are going to see 8,000 same game parlays placed for tonight.
It's the lotto plays, man. Everybody wants to put down their $10 and win 150,000
right?
Every primetime pick. I mean, I can't say I haven't placed some of those, but yeah, those are lovely. But
I think I have 7 locked in already. I think I have 7 anytime touchdown parlays locked for this weekend already.
We call those the retirement parlays, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, from Thursday night football, let's go to Sao Paulo. And for Friday night football, we got the Packers, we got the Eagles. 71% of bets last time I checked are on Green Bay plus 2.5. 78% are on the over at 49.5. Matt, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, no, this looks like the line has come down a bit. Seeing 2s out there, it was 3s, I believe, with the Eagles in the week, or was it not? I might be broken.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So yeah, a lot of money towards Green Bay in this game. I like Green Bay this year, guys. I do. I think that they showed me something last year, especially Jordan Love down the stretch with his crazy touchdown to interception ratio. And if he just would have kept it going for one more half, he would have knocked out those dreaded Niners. But I like the Eagles in this game under a field goal. Again, I do, just like Baltimore, I just see a team that has something to prove. The way last season ended, not just in the final game, which was bad enough in Tampa Bay, but just the way that things kind of crumbled in the end. They have something to prove. I do think it's going to be a competitive ball game. Yeah. I think 49.5 is a little too high. If you look the last, I think it's 2 or 3 seasons, week 1, been about a 64% unders in the NFL in week 1. So I think it's a little high, plus being in a foreign land and kind of getting in a stadium you're not used to. And I just think that the Eagles is the right side in this particular spot. If these two teams were to meet, in late January, I might have a different opinion. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers win this game. I just for some reason think the Eagles are going to want it more, for lack of a better way to put it.
I love it. I'm on the same boat. I mean, I absolutely love the Eagles here. But what happened to them on the back half of last year? It's like these two teams kind of just went in fully opposite directions. The public isn't going to like me again, but yeah, I'm all the way back on the Eagles, regardless of them giving up 32 points to the Bucs to close out the year, 27 to Alpha's Giants the week prior, 35 to the Cardinals the week before that. I honestly just don't know what happened, but that's probably why they cleaned house and had 9 different coaches come in. But yeah, you better believe this is an absolute statement game for the Eagles and Vic Fangio as their new defensive coordinator. I like this matchup for the Philly offense as well. I mean, they're going up against a unit that was one of the worst in total defense. They ranked 23rd in the NFL in dropback EPA. Give me Jalen, give me Saquon, give me AJ, Devontae Smith receiving core. I think these Eagles come out flying. Call me crazy, but I'll take the better team on paper here for week 1. Give me Eagles minus 2.5. Alpha, how about you, bud?
Unfortunately, I agree with you guys. So that means it's probably going to be Packers by 400 and it goes over.
Hey, we're squad riding.
I see it the exact same way you guys do. I think this goes comfortably under the 49.5, and I think the Eagles win this outright. I am taking the Eagles money line, however. I'm not taking the spread. It's down to a minus 130 on FanDuel. And to me, I just think there's too much value taking the Eagles on the money line. They have too much experience in this game, almost across the board at every position, at all the important skill positions as well. The Eagles have more experience. They'll be better fit to handle this type of game, this type of atmosphere all the way in Brazil. I think the Eagles get this one done comfortably.
And shout out Dan showing us the odds moving in the background. He's doing an absolutely fantastic job here. If you guys want to check the odds movement for these games, head on over to Oddspedia. You know we have you covered. Hey, and also, guys, remember when we ran through these March Madness shows and we did a ton of squad rides? I think we were almost undefeated. I don't remember the record. I think we were like 7-1 when we did when we squad rode. I think that's the right term for it. But you guys on anything for the total tonight, or I guess Friday?
I said, I lean the under, but no official play. For now, I am only going to be playing the side on this one, or the money line for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think we all like the under.
Yeah. All right. I think what do I even like? I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm on the over here. I mean, I might as well talk about it just to give everyone a variety of picks here. There's nothing really to pull historically from these two teams when it comes to the total. I mean, the Packers were 11-8 to the over last year. Eagles were 9-9. However, judging how these defensive units finished last year, I like the over here. We all know the Eagles ended their year, how the Eagles ended their year. I mean, they were absolutely atrocious. But the Packers on the other side also gave up 30 to the Panthers on Christmas Eve, 32 to the Cowboys in the wild card round. Both of these teams are in the top 10 for total offense last year and got better in the offseason. While we all know about the Saquon addition, remember that the Packers still added Josh Jacobs to their backfield as well. I think both of these defensive units are way overmatched in this one. If you guys like the under, I'm going to throw it on the over to see some fireworks on a nice night in Sao Paulo. We will see 50-plus points. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to go against the grain here, and you can bet on that. All right, fellas, Sunday Night Football. We got a couple more games here to break down. Before we get into our props, we got Rams, we got Lions. 64% of bets are on the Rams plus 3.5. 80% are on the over at 50.5. Matt, who do you like here?
Yeah, I like Detroit in this game. I think the better play might be the under. I just think the total is just too high. When you look at last year's total situations, these games that were blind over 50 just did not get there. It was 10. I looked 10-2 to the under. Looking at my notes from last year, 10-2 to the under when totals were 50 or higher. The high totals of the week, and this is the high one by a mile. 14-6 to the under. Last year, these two teams came out like gangbusters, and it was like this thing's flying over the 51.5 or 53 is what it was, because it was 38 points scored in the first half, and then they kicked three field goals total in the second half, and it dies at 47. So, I do think they're going to see some offense. I think we're going to get to the mid 40s, maybe the upper 40s. I just think, I'm just playing that sort of that 50 thing. Just has not worked out last year, and so I like the under in this game. I do think the Rams offensive line concerns me. I do like Stafford to have a big game. We'll talk about that. But I just think that could be the undoing of the Rams in this contest. I think the line is short enough to take Detroit. Again, another team with something to prove. The Rams are a little bit in a revenge situation here, but in a game ago last year, and the Lions scored first and led wire to wire, and it wasn't within 3 until the end when the Rams took a field goal about halfway through the fourth quarter. But it was a competitive game. It'll be competitive again. I like the Lions winning this game by about a touchdown.
Alva, how about you, bud?
I feel the exact same way you do. I'm all over the under here, and I think you put it perfectly. I do think this Rams offensive line is going to struggle. They did lose Runyon in free agency. He was one of their better offensive linemen. They've lost a couple other pieces as well, and this is a team that relied heavily on that offensive line to give Kyren Williams space and to let Puka Nacua get time to get down the field and to find some open space. I do not think that they will have that time, at least this early in the year, when you have a bunch of new linemen that are going to be in the rotation. It takes some time to gel with them. It really does. I was watching the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and they had J.J. Watt on, who went on a whole rant on how it's easier for defensive players to get going early rather than offensive linemen. It takes a long time to learn how to play with the guy next to you on the offensive side, while on the defensive side, you're able to do a one-on-one and really get through there and disrupt the game early. I think defenses will be the story, just like it was last year. We saw a bunch of the week 1 games go under. This is another one I think goes under rather comfortably. Matt said it perfectly. Anything over 50, I'm probably looking at the under, and this one all the way at 52.5. Give me the under. I know it's inside a dome, but I do think the Rams will struggle mightily on the offensive side.
Hey, you said it perfectly. I mean, I'm leading the under as well, but my play is Lions minus 3.5. I'm with you, Matt, as well. I mean, how can you go against these Lions? They covered the spread a whopping 14 times last year. when you look at the last 2 years, they're 26-11 against the spread. I mean, it's a true bettor's dream, this Lions team is. While the Rams offense are no slouches themselves with the dynamic duo, you guys know, we got 𝐿𝐴𝐴, we got Cooper Kupp, we got Kyren Williams in the backfield. I think the Detroit offense is going to be too much for this Rams defensive unit. The Rams allowed the 10th most passing touchdowns in the NFL last year. Goff threw for 277 yards on just 22 completions in the playoffs against them a season ago. I think the public is putting too much stock into this game. You think Aaron Donald is gone. The Rams offensive line, you guys touched upon it. They're banged up. I expect the Lions to win this one by touchdowns. By a touchdown at least. Give me Lions -3.5. I believe that is also what Squad Ride. Alpha, did you take Lions -3.5?
Oh, I'm leaning on the side of the Lions, but the under is my only official play as of now.
Got you. Yeah, I love that under, though. That is a great play. Guys, from Sunday night, let's move on over to Monday night before we get into our best prop plays of the week. We got the Jets. We got the 49ers. According to Alpha, the Jets are winning the Super Bowl, which means they have a tough test against the 49ers in week 1. 61% of the bets are on the Jets. 72% are on the over 43.5. Alpha, I'll let you take this one away, bud.
JETS. I am all over the Jets in this spot, getting that many points here. I believe it's currently still at 4.5. I do think the Niners are going to struggle to start the year. They had a lot of guys holding out at key positions. Trent Williams will be back. He's in the lineup, but he did miss a ton of time in the offseason, as well as Brandon Ayuk. We all know he was in street clothes on the sidelines just a couple days ago. So I do think it is going to take a little bit of time for this team to get rolling offensively. And this Jets team has something to prove. They have Aaron Rodgers back. They have all their weapons back. They have arguably one of the top 3 running backs in the league in Breece Hall. They are going to show up in prime time. This is going to be a monster game for the Jets. I am also sprinkling on the money line. It pains me because I sound like a Jets fan. I hate the Jets, but I just think this team is in a great position this year. Matt, I know you disagree. One of us will be right, and I bet you we will talk about this as the season goes along, but I do think the Jets will probably at least cover the 4.5, and I do think they may win the game as well.
Hey, first of all, Matt, before we get into your picks tonight, Viper, good evening, guys from Ireland. Hey, we appreciate you coming out and watching us just as much as you appreciate the stream and the tips, man. Hope we get you some winners this weekend from Ireland, guys. I love it. And then quick shout out to Cy Tyson. Well said, Alpha. The under is pretty safe. I'm pretty sure that was for last game.
Yeah.
I love that bet. I think all 3 of us love that bet. Matt, who do you like for 49ers Jets? Let's hear it, baby.
Yeah, let me contradict myself a little bit here from what we talked about earlier, but I think the Niners win the game. I think it's gonna be close. I think the Jets cover the spread. I would have liked to have the 6 that it was not too long ago, but it's down to 4. Alpha brought up the holdouts. I don't think the Ayuk thing means anything, but the Trent Williams thing, I mean, that's a huge deal. That's protecting Brock Purdy, who's, let's be honest, he's the weak link, and he's been good. He's been good, but he's the weak link. He can be had, right? And the Jets defense is really, really, really good. So, and then the other reason too, guys, from week 6 onward last year, the 49ers, boy, they're winning the Super Bowl. They're the Super Bowl favorite. They're winning it all, blah, 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 blah. Week 6 onward, it's 15 games, 5 spread covers, 5-10 against the spread down the stretch. They didn't cover in any one of their playoff games or their season finale against the Rams when nobody played. But, they lost to the Ravens at home. So obviously they were laying some big numbers, but the Jets are going to come to play. The defense is there, but I probably would say my bigger play would be on the under. Again, not to be under heavy, but guys, primetime games. I'll talk about this real quick. Going back to the end of the 2022 season, when the last 15 games, 12 went under the total. In primetime games, the under is now is 47 and 25. Going back to the end of the 2020. So that's 65% unders. And I will say, though, the last 7 Thursday night games last year went over the total. So think about that tonight. But when you combine Sunday night and Monday Night Football last year, 27-10 to the under. Call it a trend fluke, but those are pretty stark numbers. We got 2 really, really good defenses going here. And, I don't know about how crisp Rodgers is going to be. He hasn't played much in the preseason. Again, the issues with the 49ers offense, I just think that the under is the way to go in this thing. And I actually think the under in the first half is a solid play too.
Yeah, Matt, I'm all over the under. I love that play as well. I mean, I love these two defenses, especially San Fran's unit. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. You can find 44.5, I think, at a handful of books. But yeah, I'm hitting the under. But and on the other side, let's not forget that New York still had one of the best passing defense in football last year. They allowed just 168 yards through the air. Rodgers will be playing his first game in over a year. He'll also be going up against one of the best defenses in football. Let's give him some time to find his groove. I have this game ending 24-14, giving us, a ton of space for the under to hit. When it comes to the sides, though, I think I might be fading you guys once again. I hinted at my pick right off the top, but are we really only favoring the 49ers by 4.5 points just because Aaron Rodgers is back? I mean, this is one of the most proven, well-rounded teams in the NFL and could be my bet of the week. Not only did the 49ers lead all of NFL in red zone offense a year ago, they were the best offense in the league in terms of total offense. They were 9th in the NFL in terms of total defense. They have arguably the best player in the world in McCaffrey. Ayuk is back. Debo is healthy. I just don't see a world in which this team is favored by less than a touchdown at home. The public got this one all wrong. I'm sorry. I'm fading you guys as well. No matter how good that Jets defense is, I don't think they're stopping the variety of weapons. I think I like the 49ers at -4.5. What do you guys think about that?
I got a fun fact for you. San Francisco was the 12th worst team against the spread in the NFL last season at 9-11, only converting at 45%. Even though saying that, the Jets were even worse on the spread at 6-10, but still doesn't change the fact that the 49ers were 9-11, and this is a completely different Jets team.
Yeah, 9-11, but 5-10 to close. So they were awful.
That's true. That's true. Hey, well, like we said, we'll see what happens. Alpha, I can't even take you seriously with that Jets Super Bowl pick. No,
Come on.
I'm kidding. Honestly, they could. That defense is something to watch, dude. That defense is something to watch. Guys, we've got all of our primetime picks. We've got our futures. Let's get into our top props of the week of the Sunday slate. Alpha, what are you looking at? Let's go one at a time. Just fire them around. What do you think?
Sure. First one, it's probably my favorite of the Sunday slate, and it's a +250 anytime touchdown play for a starting running back in the NFL. And that's going to be Gus Edwards on the Chargers. Anytime touchdown. He's the new lead bell cow for that team. And we all know Jim Harbaugh is Jim Harbaugh style football. What does that mean? He's going to smash the ball down your throat as much as he can. He runs the ball up the middle more than anybody. They're going to pound the rock. And you're telling me big boy Gus Edwards isn't going to find the end zone? I think he will. And at +250, it's definitely a play I'm all over.
Damn, that's a great value pick. Matt, how about you, bud?
I'll give you everyone out there a sneak peek of my Sunday Night Football props article that'll be appearing on Oddspedia this weekend, where I'm giving out 3 different props picks. And I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford over 271.5 passing yards.
Yep.
The Lions' pass defense was so bad last year, guys, so bad. The team used its first-round pick, second-round pick on defensive backs. They traded for a defensive back, and they signed one in free agency. So, okay, they're trying to address the problem. Is that all going to come together in week 1? Is it all going to gel in week 1? And I know I mentioned the Rams' offensive line issues, and that is a concern. Don't know who's going to be in and out, and that's an issue when you got a quarterback as old as Stafford was. But I love the way that Stafford finished the season last year. He from week 12 through the playoff game in Detroit, he threw for 279, 294, 258, 328, 317, and 362. He also closed with a 17-2 touchdown interception ratio from week 11 onward. So he's going to be confident coming to this one, coming back to Detroit. He'll also have something to prove, a little bit of an edge on him too. And again, that 362, that last number he threw, that was his final game. That was against the Lions in Detroit. So again, they only scored 23 points. They left a lot of points on the field, but Stafford rolled up some serious passing yards, and he maybe to come from a behind situation. I think he does it again this one.
We got Gus Edwards anytime touchdown. We got Stafford over. I'm actually tailing both of those plays. I just wrote those down. I love those plays, man. For me, I'm going Diggs over 60.5 yards receiving. I think it's -110 over at DraftKings. Has anyone been scrutinized more over the back half of last year and into this offseason? Call me crazy, but Diggs upgraded teams this year. He found a home in the best wide receiver room in football with the Houston Texans. This is a guy who virtually disappeared for half a season and still went over this number 10 times a year ago. Not to mention he absolutely loves to start hot. In 2023, let me just list these receiving numbers for you. In week 1, he went 10 for 102. Then he went 7 for 66. Then he went 8 for 111, 6 for 120, 8 for 121, and then 10 catches for 100 yards. I mean, not only did he upgrade offenses, but some people think he also upgraded QBs with CJ Stroud at the helm. I mean, this number is just far too low. Stephon Diggs, he's got a lot to prove. 60.5. I think that's way too low. I think he blasts over 60 yards in his first game with Houston on the road in a division game. Give me Diggs over 60.5. Alpha, what's your second pick, bud?
Second play, guys, we are going to another anytime touchdown. And to let it out a little early, all three of my props are anytime touchdown plays. I told you guys early in the show, I have like 7 anytime touchdown parlays for Sunday. So I got to break down some of the reasons why I took them. And the second play that I'm taking is going to be Devin Singletary to find the end zone for the New York Giants. You can get that at plus 130, another plus money play. Giants are playing the Vikings this weekend. Somebody's going to have to score in this game, and neither team has a quarterback. I think we're going to see a ton of rushing in this game, and when they get in the red zone, the Giants tend to not really trust Daniel Jones to throw the ball like crazy. They are going to feed the rock to Devin Singletary. When you take a look at the Giants last year, Saquon Barkley was the entire offense. Almost every single touchdown came from Saquon Barkley, so somebody has to pick up that slack for the New York Giants this year. Devin Singletary was brought in. He will be the guy used. Not going to probably have a lot of action on the Giants this year. I'm not very high on them, but I do think against this Vikings team, the Giants will be able to get some points on the board, and someone's got to be the one to get the points. I think it's going to be Devin Singletary.
Hey, the under-the-radar running back plays, workhorses, those are great anytime touchdown. I think those are – you're taking advantage of the books right now because if they start scoring, you know those numbers are coming down. That value of those anytime touchdowns, they're not going to be in the plus 200, high plus 100s anymore.
I agree completely.
Yeah. Matt, how about you, bud? Who's your second prop?
Yeah, interesting enough, and this was not planned to everyone out there. It is it's Devin Singletary, but it's under his rushing yards.
I can
this
see
is
that.
one of my Sunday prop plays. So Alpha, I'll give you how about a 3-yard touchdown, and you give me under 51.5 rushing yards. We good there?
We got a deal, brother. I am in.
So here's the logic with this. Okay, so nobody has been more consistently average than Devin Singletary in his career. I mean, he's never rushed for more than 898 yards. He's never rushed for fewer than 687. The last 3 seasons was 870, 819, 898. He averaged 51.2, 51.2, 52.8, right around this number, right? Okay, here's the problem. His first 4 years of his career, he had Josh Allen handing him the rock. Last year, he had rookie sensation CJ Stroud handing him the rock. Who's handing him the football this year? Danny Dimes. I don't think the Vikings defense is going to be scared of Danny Dimes. They're going to stuff the box. They're going to force Danny Dimes to beat him with his arm, and that's not going to happen. And so I just think that Singletary has his work cut out for him against a defense that was one of only 6 defenses last year that gave up less than 100 rushing yards per game. Sorry, 8 defenses. The Vikings were solid run defense. And again, they're just going to dare Daniel Jones to beat him. And if he makes some big plays early, that's going to open up some holes for Singletary. But also, Singletary's finished with under 51.5 rushing yards in more than half of his games each of the last 3 seasons. So that's my play.
Hey, we love these under the radar running back plays. I mean, my second best play isn't under the radar anymore, but I think it's a value play. I got Raheem Mostert anytime touchdown. I'll hop on the anytime touchdown train with you guys. Mostert anytime touchdown at plus 130. We all know McDaniel loves to run the ball. We all know that every bettor on the face of the earth loves an anytime touchdown scorer prop. Now, it could be a tad rainy as well come game time in the second half between the Dolphins and Jaguars. So we're going to run with Mostert here. We all know he was a cash cow when it came to touchdowns a year ago. He totaled 21 touchdowns. I think this is great value for him to score on week 1 in a game where there could be a lot of points. Alpha, third and final best prop of the week. Let's hear it.
Third and final anytime touchdown play, boys. Let's get right into it. And this one is going to be a receiver. T. Higgins, anytime touchdown. I'm sure you guys can understand where I'm going from that one because it does look like Ja'Marr Chase is not going to be able to go in this game. If he does not go, I think we may see 2 touchdowns from T. Higgins in the air. This Patriots defense isn't going to be able to stop a nosebleed, let alone a passing attack with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and the rest of the guys they have in Cincinnati. I do think the Bengals win this game in a landslide. I think they score a ton of points, and I do think T. Higgins finds the end zone at least once. He will be the featured receiver, as it does look like Ja'Marr Chase isn't going to be able to go, which doesn't hurt the Bengals really because they are so much better than this Patriots team. They'll be fine, and I do think we'll see at least once T. Higgins get in the end zone.
Yeah, I'm absolutely all over the Bengals in that matchup as well. That's a crazy low spread as well. Matt, who's your third and final best prop of the day, bud?
Oh, I love this one, guys. Unless do you guys think that Dan Quinn is the miracle worker for the Washington Commanders defense? Because that's pretty much the only way this happens.
Yeah.
The Washington Commanders last year gave up 39 touchdown passes, 4 more than any other team. Philadelphia was next at 35. 11 quarterbacks in all had multiple touchdown throws against the Commanders. 2 of those quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts of the Eagles and Dak Prescott of the Cowboys, did it twice. Not only that, Hurts threw 6 touchdowns against Washington in 2 games. 2 fewer than Dak Prescott did in 2 games. 14 touchdowns for these. Here are some of the other quarterbacks, just a couple, that threw multiple touchdown passes against the Commanders last year. Justin Fields threw 4. Tommy DeVito threw 3. Desmond Ridder threw 2. Geno Smith threw 2. Tyrod Taylor threw 2. Okay? Listen to those names again and try not to laugh. Okay? So Baker Mayfield's over 1.5 touchdowns. It's juicy. It's -135 at DraftKings, but he set a career high last year touchdowns with 28. He would throw more if the Washington was on the schedule, but they weren't. And he's got obviously the weapons around him and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and other guys. He threw multiple touchdowns 11 times last year, including 6 of his last 7 games. I like Baker Mayfield to light this defense up at least twice, over 1.5 touchdowns, -135.
I love it. I'm also playing Tampa in that spread too. I think that's a lopsided victory and Jaden Daniels' first start for the Commanders. My third and final, I'm going all the way to Vegas. Zamir White over 60 plus rushing yards, plus 105 over at DraftKings. I mean, a workhorse back to go over 60 rushing yards. Count me in any day of the week. White's going to carry the lion's share of carries for Vegas this year. He's going up against a defense that was middle of the pack last year, giving up 113 yards per game on the ground in the LA Chargers. This also might be just an ugly game with 2 fringe playoff teams going to toe, which gives me good enough reason to believe the volume will be there for White with Minshew as well as their quarterback. Give me 60 plus rushing yards at plus 105 at DraftKings. Fellas, our last segment, before we get into it, I just want to shout everybody out. We just went over an hour long for our week 1 show. We've got about 850 of you in here. Let's head on over to our last segment. Arguably one of my favorite this year. We're going to try and do it every single week. Our Oddspedia Fantasy Stardom Sit-em for week 1. We'll each dish out our start of the week and our sit of the week every single Thursday to end off the show, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Alpha, your start of the week, who are you looking at?
Start of the week, I'm looking at Brock Bowers. I have 2 tight end options for the people this week. Honestly, I'm doing this because these are both my tight ends, and I had to go through this all week and figure out what I wanted to personally do. So my start is going to be Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers. We love it. Matt, do you have a start of the week?
Yeah, it's going to sound crazy as we just talked about. It's Baker Mayfield. He may not be a QB1 or a QB2 on your fantasy roster or whatever, but he's a guy you got to start this week. It's just based on the defense he's facing.
Yep, I absolutely love it. I'm going to go ahead with Jonnu Smith. I'm going to go it's not really off the board because everyone's going tight ends, but it's always tough to find a true starter each week at tight end. We're pretty much limited to 4 or 5 elite players at this position each year. Yes, it'll be a tight end position, and as I said, it's Jonnu Smith. Jacksonville allowed the 9th worst, 911 yards to the tight end last year. Jonnu's been a playmaker everywhere he's been in a limited role. Now he gets a chance to start in an offense filled with firepower, meaning way more opportunities. Tyreek, Waddle, Smith can own the middle of the field, and I won't be surprised if he's up there with a tight end 1 signature right beside his name at the end of the year. He's only 8% owned in Yahoo sports leagues right now. I'm pounding my fist on the table for Jonnu. Guys, do you have a sit of the week? One player that each manager should just avoid at all costs this week in week 1.
I do, for sure. And that, to me, is going to be the other tight end on my team, Kyle Pitts, which was absolutely the wrong pick to make yet again. But he was still on the board when it was my time, and I felt it was the time to take him. But he's got a lingering hamstring, guys. That's one of those injuries that really doesn't go away for the duration of the season. I would not start him this week. Well, he's recently had this hamstring injury. It just came up a few days ago. It's a re-aggravation. So to me, I'm starting Brock Bowers and benching Kyle Pitts in all leagues.
Have you seen all those memes with Kyle Pitts, people drafting him? It's like, me getting ready to draft Kyle Pitts and he's putting on his clown makeup. Man, that's
that was me last year.
That was me last year. I picked Kyle Pitts. I thought it was his breakout year, just like every year. And then, of course, now he's got a hamstring injury. But we don't make light of injuries on the show. Matt, how about you the week? But
yeah, speaking of hamstring injury, that's one of the reasons. One of my other props, just real quick, with Jahmyr Gibbs under his rushing yards total against the Rams, and he says he's 100%, but I think Montgomery's going to get most of those carries. So again, Montgomery might be a start, and Gibbs might be a sit. But my official sit is one we also talked about not too long ago, and that's Brock Purdy. I don't think you can start him against the 49ers this week. I don't think that's necessarily a bold thing to say, but I'm saying it anyway. Brock Purdy, put him on your bench.
And Alpha's not going to like my sit, but I'm sitting Aaron Rodgers. You heard it from me before, but if you bought Rodgers stock, which I did actually in some of my leagues, then you have to sit him for week 1. It'll be his first game in over a year. He's going up against a San Fran defense that takes no prisoners. I mean, stop me if you've heard that before. If you love Aaron Rodgers, trust me, wait till week 2 when he plays the Titans, and you can thank me later. Guys, that concludes our Stardom Sit-'em. Hey, and that concludes our NFL week 1 show, just over an hour. Nicely done, fellas. That just about wraps it up for us at week 1 here at Oddspedia. Don't forget to sign up to our handicapper contest for some cash prizes. Make sure to go to Oddspedia to find the best odds for all your betting needs. Whether you tail or fade us throughout this entire season, remember, we always love you. We'll be here, same place, same time to do it all over again next week. Let's have a damn day, fellas.
Let's cash.
Winner, winner.